The morning sun rose over New Terra like it had done for the past 150 years. The sky glowed orange and pink as light touched the tall buildings of New Sol, the biggest city on the planet. 12 million people lived on this world. It was home to families, children, workers, teachers, and dreamers. New Terra was peaceful. War was something people read about in history books, not something they worried about anymore. Captain Hana Yoon stood in her brother's kitchen, watching her nephew blow out 8 candles on his birthday cake. The boy's name was Jay, and his face lit up with pure joy as his parents clapped and sang. Hana smiled, feeling warmth in her chest. She was on leave from her military post, taking a rare break to visit family. Her brother Byung poured coffee while his wife took pictures. It was an ordinary, perfect morning. Then the world ended. The sky tore open. That was the only way Hana could describe it later. Space itself ripped apart above the city, and massive ships poured through. 30 warships, each one bigger than the tallest building on New Terra. They were dark and covered in strange symbols. The ships blocked out the sun, casting shadows across the entire city. Hana's military training kicked in immediately. She grabbed Jay and pulled him away from the window. Her brother stared up at the sky, frozen in shock. His wife started to scream. Hana was already moving, pulling her family toward the basement. But she knew, deep in her gut, that a basement would not save them. The alien ships did not send a message. They did not make demands. They did not give warnings. They simply opened fire. Beams of burning plasma rained down from the sky. The first blast hit 3 blocks away. Hana felt the shock wave through her bones. The house shook. Windows exploded inward. The second blast was closer. The third blast hit the neighborhood directly. Hana's military instincts screamed at her. She had a ship, a small courier vessel parked at the spaceport just 10 minutes away. If she could reach it, she could escape. She could get help. She grabbed Jay's hand and started to run. Her brother and his wife followed, but they were too slow, too shocked, too scared. The city burned around them. Buildings collapsed. People ran in every direction screaming. Hana saw a school bus full of children explode as a plasma beam hit it directly. She saw a hospital torn in half. She saw fire everywhere. The aliens were not targeting military bases. They were targeting everything. Everyone. Hana reached her ship with Jay still holding her hand. Her brother and his wife were 20 meters behind. She opened the ship's door and pushed Jay inside. She turned to wave her brother forward. That was when the sky turned white. A massive plasma blast hit the spaceport. Hana saw her brother reach toward her. She saw his mouth open, calling her name. Then he was gone, vaporized. His wife, too. Turned to ash in a fraction of a second. Hana screamed. She did not remember climbing into the ship. She did not remember starting the engines. Her training took over completely. Her hands moved on the controls while her mind shattered. The ship lifted off as the ground beneath it turned to molten glass. Jay was crying in the passenger seat. He was calling for his parents. Hana could not answer him. She could barely breathe. The ship climbed through smoke and fire. Hana saw the aliens' ships more clearly now. They were beautiful in a horrible way, sleek and deadly. They were killing her world with casual efficiency. Below, New Sol was a sea of flames. The surrounding cities were the same. Orbital defense platforms fired back, but they were destroyed in seconds. Hana's ship broke through the atmosphere. Behind her, New Terra was dying. 12 million people were dying. Her family was already dead. She set course for the jump point, her hands shaking so badly she could barely input the coordinates. 6 other ships appeared on her sensors, also fleeing. 7 ships out of thousands. 7 survivors from a world of 12 million. As her ship prepared to jump to faster than light speed, Hana looked back one last time. The aliens were finishing their work. Massive beams struck the planet's surface, turning entire continents into burning wastelands. The oceans boiled. The atmosphere caught fire. In 4 hours, the aliens had killed an entire world. Then a message came through on all frequencies. Hana's screen showed an alien face. It was tall and gray with 4 eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. The creature spoke in perfect human language. I am High Commander Thexval of the Velkari Empire. Let this be a lesson to all inferior species. We are the masters of this galaxy. New Terra was destroyed to show our power. Your people will submit to Velkari rule, or you will share their fate. You have 10 cycles to surrender. This is your only warning. The alien stood before the burning planet, proud and confident. Then the transmission ended. Hana's ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. The stars stretched and blurred. She was safe, but safety meant nothing. Her world was gone. Her family was gone. Jay sat beside her, silent now, staring at nothing. The boy had watched his parents die. He would carry that memory forever. The journey to Earth took 3 days. Hana barely slept. She could not close her eyes without seeing her brother reaching for her, without seeing the city burn, without seeing 12 million people turn to ash. When she arrived at Earth, the news had already spread. The Velkari message had been received by every human colony. Panic was everywhere. Some people called for immediate surrender. Others called for negotiation. But in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface, Admiral Daehyun Park had a different response. Park was 58 years old. He was a career military officer who had spent his entire life preparing for threats that never came. He was a quiet man, thoughtful and careful. He had a daughter on New Terra, 2 grandchildren. When the news came, he watched the footage 3 times without saying a word. His staff waited nervously. They had never seen him like this. His face was completely calm, but his eyes were ice. Finally, Park spoke. His voice was soft, but every word was clear. They wanted to send us a message. They wanted to show us their strength. They wanted us to be afraid. He paused and looked around the room. They succeeded. I am afraid. I am afraid of what we are about to become. I am afraid of what we must do. But I am not afraid of them. He pressed a button on his desk. Red lights flashed across every military base on Earth and every human colony. Activate Protocol Omega, total war mobilization. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. We are going to teach the Velkari what happens when they attack humanity. We are going to make them regret the day they learned our name. The United Earth Assembly met in emergency session. For the first time in 200 years, every nation agreed on something. The vote was unanimous. War. Total war. No negotiation. No surrender. Just war. Across Earth and every human colony, people watched the footage from New Terra. They saw the children burning. They saw the cities destroyed. They saw 12 million people murdered without mercy or warning. And something changed in humanity that day. Something old and dark and terrible woke up. The peaceful species that had spent 2 centuries building and exploring and growing remembered something they had tried to forget. They remembered how to hate. In orbit around Earth, 500 warships prepared for deployment. Shipyards that had been idle for decades roared to life. Factories switched from building homes to building weapons. Young people lined up at recruiting stations. Scientists abandoned peaceful research to design tools of war. Humanity, slow to anger but terrible in rage, prepared for vengeance. Captain Hana Yoon stood at the viewport of the UES Retribution, a massive warship that would be her new home. Jay was safe with relatives on Earth. She had said goodbye to him, knowing she might never return. She did not care. All she wanted was to make the Velkari hurt. All she wanted was to kill them. Every single one of them. Admiral Park's voice came through the ship's communication system. It reached every vessel in the fleet. Soldiers of humanity. 3 weeks ago we were at peace. We were building, creating, living. The Velkari took that from us. They took our families, our children, our future. They thought we were weak. They thought we would surrender. They were wrong. We are going to show them what humanity really is. We are going to show them what happens when you awaken the warrior in a peaceful species. For New Terra. For our fallen. For everyone we loved and lost. No mercy, no prisoners, no surrender. We end this, we end them. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. 500 ships disappeared from Earth's orbit in a flash of light. They were heading to Velkari space. They were heading to war. And the Velkari, celebrating their easy victory and their demonstration of power, had no idea what was coming for them. They had no idea that they had not destroyed humanity. They had only made humanity remember what it was capable of. They had awakened something that should have stayed asleep. And now humanity was coming for them with fire and fury beyond imagination. 3 weeks after New Terra died, the Velkari were expecting humanity's surrender. High Commander Thexvel sat in his throne room on the Velkari homeworld, confident and proud. His advisors congratulated him on the successful demonstration of power. They believed humanity would bow down like all the other species they had conquered. They were wrong. The Velkari forward base in the Tarko system detected something strange on their sensors. Ships were approaching. Many ships. The base commander assumed they were merchant vessels coming to negotiate. He was relaxed. The base had 40 warships. Nothing could threaten them. Then space exploded with light. 150 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light speed right on top of the Velkari base. The aliens had seconds to react. It was not enough. Captain Hana Yoon stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, her hands steady on the controls. Her face showed no emotion. Inside, she was screaming. She was remembering her brother, her nephew's parents, 12 million people. The rage inside her was so pure it felt cold. She opened a communication channel that broadcast to every Velkari ship in the system. Her voice was calm and clear. For New Terra, no mercy. Then the human fleet opened fire. The Velkari had never seen warfare like this. Human ships did not follow the normal rules of space combat. Damaged vessels did not retreat. Instead, they accelerated toward enemy ships, ramming them at full speed. Pilots with no hope of survival aimed for critical systems on Velkari warships, destroying them in suicide attacks. The Velkari base commander tried to organize a defense, but chaos ruled the battlefield. Human ships were broadcasting something on all frequencies. It took him a moment to realize what it was. Audio from New Terra's final moments. The screams of dying children. The desperate cries of parents. The sound of a world ending. The psychological effect was devastating. Velkari soldiers who had celebrated the destruction of New Terra were now forced to hear the results of their empire's actions. Captain Hana Yoon led the retribution in a charge that should have been suicide. She dropped her ship's shields and diverted all power to weapons and engines. Velkari plasma fire tore through her hull, venting entire decks to space. Dozens of her crew died in seconds. She did not slow down. She could not slow down. All she could see was her brother reaching for her as he died. The retribution smashed through the Velkari defensive line and fired everything at point-blank range. 3 Velkari destroyers exploded. The shockwave threw the retribution spinning, but Hana regained control. Her ship was dying, but she had done what she needed to do. She had opened a hole in the enemy formation. The rest of the human fleet poured through that gap. The Velkari formation collapsed. Ships tried to flee. They did not make it. Human fighters hunted them down. Lieutenant Minho Choi led Reaper Squadron in pursuit of the escaping vessels. His fighter was painted black with a white skull on the nose. He was 27 years old, and his eyes were empty of everything except hate. His fiancée had died on New Terra. Minho's squadron moved through the debris field like sharks through water. They were hunting. Not just for kills, but for specific targets. Command ships. Vessels with Velkari officers aboard. They analyzed communication signatures and systematically eliminated every ship that had a commander on it. The Velkari fleet lost coordination, lost leadership, lost hope. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 38 Velkari ships were destroyed. The remaining 2 tried to surrender. Admiral Daehyun Park, commanding from his flagship, denied their surrender. His orders were clear and cold. No mercy, no prisoners. The 2 ships were destroyed. Humanity lost 22 ships in the battle. 7,000 people died. But unlike the Velkari, every human who went into that battle knew they might not come back. They accepted it. They welcomed it if it meant hurting the enemy. After the battle, Admiral Park stood in the ruins of the Velkari base. His Marines had seized the station, eliminating all resistance. Park recorded a message that would be broadcast to the Velkari homeworld. He stood among the wreckage, his uniform stained with smoke, his face hard. You wanted to send a message to humanity. We received it. Now we send one back. You destroyed New Terra to demonstrate your power. Congratulations. You have awakened something far more dangerous than an enemy. You have created 12 million reasons for humanity to hunt you across the stars. Every ship you destroy, we will build 3 more. Every soldier you kill, 10 will take their place. We are coming for you. We are coming for every Valkyrie world. We are coming with fire and fury, and we will not stop until your empire is dust and ash. You have 10 cycles to evacuate your civilians from your colonies. After that, we start burning them. This is not a war. This is extermination. The message reached the Valkyrie homeworld within hours. High Commander Thexvel watched it in his throne room. For the first time in his life, he felt something unfamiliar. Fear. He immediately mobilized the full Valkyrie military. 800 warships, the largest force the Empire had ever assembled. He sent his own message back to humanity. Foolish humans, you won a single battle against a minor outpost. We will crush you completely. Your Earth will burn next. But War Master Krelnix, the Valkyrie fleet commander, was not so confident. He watched the tactical recordings from Tarkos. He watched human ships with breached hulls and dying crews accelerate toward Valkyrie vessels instead of retreating. He watched pilots with no hope of survival take their enemies with them. He watched humanity fight with a ferocity that made no logical sense. Krelnix sent a private message to High Commander Thexval. These humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. They fight like they have nothing to lose. They embrace death if it means killing us. This is dangerous. We should consider negotiation. Thexval ignored the warning. He believed in Valkyrie superiority. He believed 800 ships could crush any human fleet. He was wrong. On Earth, Dr. Jinwoo Kang worked without sleep in his laboratory. He was 45 years old and had dedicated his life to peaceful research. His wife had been a scientist, too. She died on New Terra, killed while teaching a class of young students. Kang had watched her final transmission. She told him she loved him. Then the transmission ended in white light. Now Kang was designing weapons. The Hellfire Protocol, he called it. Weapons that use stars as amplifiers. Minds that existed in multiple time streams, killing ships before they even arrived. Biological weapons designed specifically to kill Valkyrie. Self-replicating drones that turned enemy vessels into raw materials to build more drones. Every weapon violated the rules of civilized warfare. Kang did not care. His wife was dead. Civilized warfare had died with her. 3 weeks after the Battle of Tarkos, both sides prepared for the decisive engagement. The Valkyrie assembled their armada at the Nexus Point, a strategic system between Valkyrie and human space. 800 ships, confident in their numbers and technology. On the human side, Admiral Park gathered his forces. Not 800 ships, 1,200. In 3 weeks, humanity had tripled its military production. Civilian shipyards converted to military use. Mothballed warships brought out of storage. New vessels constructed at speeds that should have been impossible. Every human nation, every colony, every resource was devoted to one purpose: war. Ambassador Zixtara of the Galactic Council tried one last time to stop the coming battle. She arrived at Earth with a proposal for mediation. She met with Admiral Park in his office, a simple room with no decorations except a picture of his daughter and grandchildren. Admiral, please. War is not the answer. The Council condemns what the Valkyrie did, but more violence will not bring back the dead. Let us mediate. Let us find a peaceful solution. Park looked at her with tired eyes. Ambassador, where was the Council when our children were burning? Where was galactic justice when 12 million people were murdered? You want us to stop? Then bring them back. Bring back my grandchildren. Bring back every person who died on New Terra. Can you do that? Zixtara was silent. I thought not, Park continued. Then get out of our way. Justice is coming for the Valkyrie. We are justice. We are vengeance. We are 12 million reasons why you never ever attack humanity. Zixtara left Earth. Her mission failed. She sent a message back to the Galactic Council. The humans are not fighting a war. They are conducting an extermination. They will not stop. They cannot stop. They have given themselves completely to vengeance. Whatever happens next, the galaxy will never be the same. The human fleet assembled in orbit. 1,200 ships, each one carrying soldiers who had lost someone to New Terra. Each one crewed by people who wanted revenge more than they wanted life. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Vengeance. Around him, His officers prepared for the jump to the Nexus point. Captain Hana Yoon commanded the Retribution, barely repaired from the Battle of Tarkos. Her ship still bore scars from that fight. So did she. She had not smiled since New Terra fell. She did not think she would ever smile again. But that was fine. Smiling was for people with something to live for. She had nothing to live for. She only had something to die for. Revenge. Lieutenant Minho Choi sat in his fighter, part of a squadron of 12 pilots. They called themselves Reapers. Each one had lost everything to New Terra. Each one had painted kill marks on their ships. The human fleet divided into 3 groups, each with a single purpose: destroy Velkari colonies, show them what New Terra felt, make them understand that attacking humanity had consequences that would last for generations. Captain Hana Yoon commanded Task Force Alpha. Her target was Velkos 3, an industrial world where the Velkari built their warships. 200 human vessels dropped out of faster-than-light speed above the planet. The Velkari had 80 ships defending it. They also had orbital weapons platforms and planetary shields. It did not matter. The battle lasted 4 hours. Human ships used every weapon in the Hellfire Protocol. Solar lances burned through the planetary shields. Self-replicating drones stripped the orbital platforms for materials. The defending Velkari fleet fought bravely, but bravery was not enough against enemies who fought without fear of death. When the Velkari defenders finally surrendered, Hana accepted. She ordered them to land their ships and disarm. Then she broadcast a message to the planet below. Her voice was cold and empty of emotion. People of Velkos 3, you have 24 hours to evacuate. Take your families and leave this world. After that, we will destroy every factory, every shipyard, every industrial facility on this planet. This is what mercy looks like from humanity. Take it. For 24 hours, ships left the planet in a constant stream. Millions of Velkari fled their homes, taking only what they could carry. Hana watched them go and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just emptiness. When the time was up, the human fleet opened fire. They did not target civilians. They targeted infrastructure. Factories exploded, shipyards melted under concentrated fire, power plants were reduced to rubble. By the time Task Force Alpha left, Velkos 3 was alive but broken. It would never build another warship. The industrial heart of the Velkari Empire was destroyed. Task Force Beta, led by Admiral Kyung-Soo Lee, went after Velkara 2. This was the agricultural world that fed a dozen Velkari systems. It had almost no military defenses. It did not need them. It was a farming world, peaceful and productive. That made what happened next even more terrible. Admiral Lee did not bombard the planet with plasma fire. Instead, he deployed something worse: chemical weapons that made soil infertile, biological agents that destroyed crops, orbital satellites that would rain poison on the fields for years to come. He was not trying to kill the Velkari on this world. He was trying to starve them. The planetary government surrendered immediately, begging for mercy. Lee broadcast his response across the entire system. You wanted to break humanity by destroying our colonies. Now you will understand hunger. Your children will grow up knowing what it means to starve, just as ours would have if any had survived New Terra. Within weeks, the fertile fields of Velkara 2 turned to dust. The breadbasket of the Velkari Empire became a wasteland. Food shortages spread across Velkari space. And the message was clear. Humanity would not just destroy Velkari military power. They would destroy everything that made the Velkari Empire function. Task Force Gamma, commanded by Admiral Park himself, targeted military installations. Bases were bombed into rubble. Training facilities were destroyed. Ammunition depots exploded in massive fireballs visible from space. The Velkari military, already broken by the Battle of Nexus Point, was being systematically dismantled. But the campaign took a toll on humanity too. Not all humans were comfortable with what they were doing. Lieutenant Eun Ji-han, a young officer on the Retribution, approached Captain Hana Yoon one evening. She was nervous but determined. Captain, I need to speak freely. What we are doing, destroying their farms, poisoning their worlds. We are becoming like them. The Velkari attack civilians. Now we are destroying civilian infrastructure. When does it stop? How are we different from them? Hana looked at the young woman for a long moment. Her answer was cold. It stops when they can never threaten us again. It stops when every Velkari child grows up knowing that humanity is sacred. that our lives are not to be touched. We are different from them, Lieutenant, because we gave them a choice. We warned them. We let civilians evacuate. The Velkari gave New Terra no warning. No chance, just death. Remember that before you question our methods. But later that night, alone in her cabin, Hana stared at a picture of her nephew. The boy who had survived New Terra. The boy who would carry those scars forever. She wondered if he would be proud of what she was doing, or if he would be horrified. She did not know anymore. The war was changing her, making her into something cold and hard, something she did not recognize when she looked in the mirror. While the fleets burned colonies, Colonel Taeyang Kim's Ghost Battalion conducted ground operations. They did not fight conventional battles. They fought psychological warfare. On the military world of Crix 4, Ghost Battalion did not attack the main base immediately. Instead, they cut power, disrupted communications, made the defenders paranoid and afraid. Then they broadcast something that broke the Velkari soldiers mentally, audio recordings from New Terra's final moments. The screams of children, the desperate cries of parents, the sound of a civilization dying. They played it on loop, 24 hours a day, broadcasting directly into the Velkari base. When Ghost Battalion finally attacked, half the garrison surrendered immediately. The others fought with the desperation of soldiers who knew they had done something unforgivable. The battle was brutal and one-sided. Kim showed no mercy to those who resisted. After the battle, Kim stood in the captured command center. He found the Velkari commander cowering in a corner, broken and defeated. Kim spoke quietly. Now you know what it sounds like when a world dies. Remember it. Tell your children. Tell your grandchildren. And pray humanity never has to remind you again. Ambassador Zixtara tried one final time to stop the campaign. She traveled to Admiral Park's flagship, requesting an emergency meeting. Park, still recovering from his injuries at Nexus Point, agreed to see her. She pleaded with him. Admiral, you have proven your point. The Velkari are broken. Their fleet is destroyed. Their economy is collapsing. The entire galaxy has seen humanity's power. Please stop this campaign. Show mercy. Prove that humanity is better than the Velkari. Park listened patiently. Then he responded with a question. Ambassador, where was galactic mercy when our children burned? Where was the council when 12 million people were murdered? You speak of proving humanity is better. We do not need to prove anything. We need to ensure this never happens again. The lesson must be absolute. It must be written in fire so bright that every species in this galaxy can see it from their homeworlds. Zixtara left. Her mission failed. She sent a final message to the Galactic Council. The humans will not stop. They are committed to total victory. They will destroy the Velkari Empire completely, and when they are done, the galaxy will be a different place. Humanity will be the dominant military power, and every species will fear them. Perhaps that is what the Velkari deserved, but I fear what comes next. 3 months after the Battle of Nexus Point, the Velkari Empire was collapsing. 15 colonies were devastated. Industrial capacity was reduced by 80%. The military was a shadow of its former strength. Food shortages led to riots. Client species that the Velkari had conquered for centuries saw their chance and rebelled. The empire was falling apart from inside and outside. High Commander Thexval sat alone in his throne room. His advisors had fled. His generals were dead or hiding. His empire was dying, and he knew it was his fault. He had ordered the destruction of New Terra. He had wanted to demonstrate Velkari power. Instead, he had awakened something far worse. A message arrived from Admiral Park. Thexval read it with shaking hands. High Commander, we are coming to SciFiPrime. You wanted to send a message by destroying New Terra. We received it. Now we send one back. You have 1 week to evacuate your homeworld. After that, we will turn it into a monument. A reminder to every species in this galaxy of what happens when you attack humanity. This is your only warning. Thexval stared at the message. Evacuate the homeworld. Abandon the planet that had been the center of Velkari civilization for 10,000 years. It was unthinkable, but so was everything else that had happened. The humans had done the impossible. They had broken an empire in 3 months. He tried to rally his remaining forces, tried to organize a final defense, but his people had no fight left in them. They had seen what happened to colonies that resisted. They had watched their empire burn. They did not want to be heroes. They wanted to survive. Across the galaxy, other species watched humanity's campaign with a mixture of awe and terror. Some applauded humanity for punishing the Velkari. Others worried about what humanity would do when the Velkari were gone. Would they stop? Could they stop? Or had they become addicted to war? The human fleet assembled at the edge of the HFY system. Over 2,000 ships now. Every loss had been replaced. Every damaged vessel repaired or rebuilt. Humanity's industrial might was fully mobilized. They could sustain this war forever if necessary. The Velkari could not. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Vengeance looking at the tactical display. HFY glowed on the screen, a beautiful blue and green world. The homeworld of the species that had murdered 12 million humans. One word from him and that world would burn. Admiral Daehyun Park stared at High Commander Thexaval's image on the screen. The Velkari leader who had murdered 12 million people now knelt before him, begging for mercy. Every instinct in Park's body screamed for revenge. To reduce HFY to ash. To make them feel what New Terra felt. His hand hovered over the weapons control. One command and 2,000 ships would fire. HFY would burn. The Velkari would be extinct within hours. Justice would be served. Vengeance would be complete. But Park thought of his granddaughter. She was 8 years old when she died, the same age as the Velkari children on the planet below. Would killing them bring her back? Would it make the pain stop? He looked around his bridge. His crew waited for the order. They were ready. They wanted this. But Park saw something else in their eyes. Exhaustion. Horror at what they had become. They had spent 3 months burning worlds. They had killed millions. They had won the war. But they had lost something too. Something important. Finally, Park spoke. His voice was quiet but firm. High Commander Thexaval, I accept your surrender. These are the terms. You will dismantle your military completely. Every warship, every weapon, every military base. You will pay reparations to every family that lost someone on New Terra, an amount that will take generations to repay. You will release all species you have conquered. The Velkari Empire ends today. He paused, then continued. And you, High Commander, will stand trial. Not before human justice. Before galactic justice. The Galactic Council will prosecute you for genocide. If found guilty, you will spend the rest of your life in prison knowing what you took from us, knowing that your arrogance destroyed your empire and killed millions of your own people. Thexaval nodded weakly. He had no choice. He had no cards left to play. I accept. All of it. Just please, spare my people. Park ended the transmission. The bridge erupted in shocked whispers. Captain Hana Yoon's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, are you sure? After everything they did? Park replied quietly. I am sure, Captain. We have won. The Velkari are broken. Killing their homeworld would make us no better than them. We will make them pay. We will make them remember. But we will not become the monsters they believed us to be. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. Humanity had accepted the Velkari surrender. The war was over. Reactions varied. Some species applauded humanity's mercy. Others worried that humanity had shown weakness, but most simply felt relief. The most terrifying military campaign in galactic history was finished. Human forces occupied HFY. Colonel Tae Yang Kim's Ghost Battalion handled security. They were professional and efficient. They did not abuse the local population. They did not loot or destroy. They enforced strict discipline. The Velkari learned quickly that humanity was not a cruel occupier. They were something worse. They were fair. And fairness meant the Velkari had to face what they had done. The Velkari fleet was dismantled, ship by ship. Weapons were destroyed. Military bases were converted to civilian use. The empire that had ruled dozens of star systems for centuries was gone. In its place was a protectorate, monitored by human forces, forbidden from having a military. High Commander Thexaval's trial became the most watched event in galactic history. The evidence was clear. Audio recordings from New Terra, video of the bombardment, testimony from survivors. Thexval was found guilty of genocide. The sentence was life imprisonment on New Terra's moon, rebuilt specifically to house him. Every day, he could look out his window and see the dead world he had created. But the war had changed humanity too. Captain Hana Yoon requested transfer to non-combat duty. She could not fight anymore, could not kill anymore. She moved to New Terra's moon, helping to build a memorial for the 12 million dead. She spent her days among the names carved in stone, searching for peace she knew she would never find. Lieutenant Minho Choi retired from military service at age 28. He had 237 confirmed kills. He opened a small flight school on Earth, teaching young pilots. He never talked about the war, never mentioned his kills. At night, he dreamed of burning ships and dying enemies and woke up wondering if his fiancée would have been proud of what he had become. Dr. Jin Woo Kang continued his research, but the Hellfire Protocol haunted him. His weapons had killed millions, changed warfare forever. He locked himself in his laboratory trying to create things that built instead of destroyed, trying to find redemption through science. His wife's picture sat on his desk, watching him work, a constant reminder of why he had done what he did. Colonel Kim became the first human governor of HFY. He ruled fairly but firmly. The Velkari never forgot what happened when they challenged humanity. Their children grew up learning about New Terra in school, about the terrible mistake their leaders had made, about the price their empire had paid. 5 years after the war ended, Admiral Park stood at the memorial on New Terra's moon. He was retired now, 63 years old, but still carrying the weight of his decisions. He found his daughter's name on the wall, his grandchildren's names. He traced the letters with his finger like he did every year on this day. Hana approached him. She worked at the memorial now, tending to it like a garden. They stood in silence for a long moment, two soldiers who had given everything to vengeance and found it empty. Was it worth it? Hana asked quietly. Everything we did, everyone we killed, did it bring them back? Park was silent for a long time. Then he spoke, his voice tired. No, nothing could bring them back. But we made sure no other human colony will suffer New Terra's fate. The galaxy knows now. Humanity is not to be touched. That knowledge cost us our innocence, maybe our souls, but it bought safety for every human child who will ever be born. Was it worth it? I will spend the rest of my life wondering. The war changed the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council passed new laws protecting civilian populations. They called them the New Terra Protocols. In practice, they were an admission. Never again would humanity be given a reason to go to war. Other species looked at humanity differently now. Some with fear, some with respect, all with caution. Humanity had proven they were not naturally warlike. But when provoked, they became the most dangerous force in the cosmos. They fought with creativity, determination, and a willingness to sacrifice everything. They used weapons that changed warfare forever, and they showed mercy only when victory was absolute. Ambassador Zixtara retired and wrote a book about the war. She called it The Sleeping Giant. Her central message was simple. Humanity is not naturally violent, but attacking them awakens something terrible, something that will not stop until the threat is completely eliminated. The book became required reading in every diplomatic school across the galaxy. 10 years after New Terra's destruction, a new colony was established in the same system. They called it New Terra Reborn. Humanity refused to let the Velkari erase their presence. The dedication ceremony was attended by thousands, survivors, veterans, families of the victims. Admiral Park was there, old and tired, but still standing. Hana read the names of the dead, all 12 million. It took 3 days. People listened to every name, remembered every life, honored every person who died. As the sun set on the new colony, Park stood with his fellow veterans. Dr. Kang was there. Colonel Kim had taken leave from HFY. Lieutenant Minho Choi had come, though he rarely left Earth anymore. They watched children playing in the streets, a new generation, innocent, safe. Dr. Kang spoke quietly. We became monsters so they could stay innocent. Colonel Kim nodded. That is the burden we carry. The darkness we embraced so they would not have to. Hana added softly. And we will carry it forever. So no one else has to. Park watched a little girl playing. She reminded him of his granddaughter. She would never know the original New Terra. She would grow up in a galaxy where humanity was feared and respected, where no one dared attack human colonies. She would grow up safe, and that, Park realized, was why they had done it all. Not for revenge, not for glory, for this. For children who could play without fear, for families who could build without looking at the sky in terror, for a future where humanity was safe. Orbiting above the colony, invisible but always present, was a fleet of warships. A reminder, a warning. Humanity had learned its lesson from New Terra. Never again would they be caught unprepared. Never again would they show weakness. And never, ever again, would they let an attack go unanswered. The galaxy had learned its lesson too. Humanity would negotiate. They would trade. They would cooperate. They preferred peace, but cross the line, attack their civilians, threaten their children, and they would bring fire and fury beyond imagination. They would use weapons that should not exist. They would fight without regard for their own survival. They would not stop until the threat was eliminated completely. Every day since the war ended, a message was broadcast across the galaxy. It had become tradition, a reminder that played on every frequency, in every language. Remember New Terra. Remember what happened when humanity was attacked. Remember what happened to those who attacked them. This message is brought to you by the United Earth Defense Force. Peace through strength, safety through vigilance. Humanity stands ready. The Nexus Point was not a normal star system. It had 3 stars locked together by gravity, creating strange effects that made navigation dangerous. Radiation storms appeared without warning. Gravity shifted unpredictably. It was a terrible place for a battle. That was exactly why both sides chose it. Neither wanted the other to have an advantage. The Velkari fleet arrived first. 800 warships spread out in formation, blocking any approach to their space. War Master Krelnix commanded from his flagship, the Dominion. It was the largest ship in the Velkari armada, covered in weapons and protected by shields that could withstand anything. Or so he thought. Then space tore open on the other side of the Nexus Point. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light speed. 1,200 ships. Krelnix felt his confidence waver. The humans had more ships than intelligence had predicted. Much more, and there was something else. Something wrong about how they moved. The human ships did not form defensive positions. They moved forward immediately, accelerating toward the Velkari fleet with no hesitation. For one long moment, 2,000 warships faced each other across millions of kilometers of empty space. Then Admiral Park gave the order. All ships open fire. The battle began. The Velkari fleet fired first as military doctrine demanded. Thousands of plasma bolts and missiles crossed the void. The human fleet responded not with conventional weapons, but with something the Velkari had never seen. Dr. Kang's Hellfire protocol activated. A human vessel near one of the stars fired a single beam of energy. The beam passed through the star's corona, and something impossible happened. The star itself became a weapon. The beam emerged on the other side, amplified 1,000 times, bright enough to see across light years. It punched through 6 Velkari capital ships in a single shot, melting them from bow to stern. Krelnix stared at his tactical display in shock. What was that? How did they weaponize a star? His science officer had no answer. The technology should not exist. But humanity had built it anyway. Then more ships started exploding. Velkari vessels that had just entered the system 5 minutes ago suddenly tore apart, not from weapons hitting them now, but from weapons that had been waiting in their past. Causality mines, Dr. Kang called them. Weapons that existed in multiple points in time. The Velkari were being killed by attacks that happened before they arrived. The Velkari formation started to break apart. Ships tried to evade threats they could not predict or understand. That was when Captain Hana Yoon made her move. The Retribution and 20 other ships had been hiding in a radiation storm, shields barely holding against the intense energy. Now they emerged right behind the Valkyrie line. Hana's ship was already dying from radiation exposure. Warning alarms screamed. Hull plating glowed red hot. Half her crew was dead or dying from radiation poisoning. She did not care. She opened fire at point-blank range, weapons blazing. The Valkyrie ships never saw her coming. 3 destroyers exploded before they could even raise shields. The rest of the human fleet pressed forward. They did not fight carefully. They did not try to preserve their ships. They fought like people who had nothing to lose. Because they did not. Every captain had lost family on New Terra. Every soldier wanted revenge more than survival. Lieutenant Minho Choi led Reaper Squadron through the chaos of the battlefield. Debris from destroyed ships floated everywhere, creating a maze of metal and fire. Minho used it as cover, hunting for specific targets. Command ships. Vessels carrying Valkyrie officers. He was not just fighting. He was executing a plan to cut off the enemy's leadership. His fighter twisted through the wreckage, targeting systems analyzing every Valkyrie vessel. When he found a command ship, he attacked without mercy. His missiles tore through their bridges. His cannon fire crippled their communication arrays. One by one, Valkyrie commanders died and their fleets lost coordination. Then Dr. Kang's most terrifying weapon activated. The Reaper Protocol. Small drones, thousands of them, swarmed into the battlefield. Each one was simple. Each one had one purpose: strip destroyed ships for materials, build more drones. The drones did not just attack. They multiplied. Within an hour, 10,000 drones filled the battlefield. Within 2 hours, 100,000. They tore apart disabled Valkyrie vessels, using the metal to build more of themselves. They learned from each engagement, adapting their tactics. The Valkyrie fleet was not just fighting an enemy. They were fighting an enemy that grew stronger with every ship they lost. War Master Krelnix tried desperately to rally his forces. He ordered his reserve fleet to engage. 200 fresh ships held back for exactly this kind of crisis. But humanity had prepared for this too. Colonel Tae-Yang Kim's Ghost Battalion had been waiting in stealth ships at the edge of the system. As the Valkyrie reserves activated their weapons, Ghost Battalions struck. Not at the ships themselves, but at their computer systems. Hacked Valkyrie vessels suddenly turned their guns on their own fleet. Chaos erupted in the Valkyrie formation. Ships collided, trying to avoid friendly fire. The careful battle plan fell apart completely. Admiral Park watched the battle from the bridge of his flagship, the Vengeance. His tactical display showed the Valkyrie fleet collapsing. Now was the time to strike the final blow. He turned to his crew. Target the Dominion. All power to forward weapons. We are going to kill their commander. The Vengeance moved toward the Valkyrie flagship. The Dominion was powerful, its weapons cutting through human ships like paper. But Park did not try to fight fairly. He dropped his shields, diverting all power to engines and weapons. The Vengeance took terrible damage. Decks exploded. Crew died by the hundreds. The ship was falling apart around him. Krelnix watched the human flagship charge him and felt horror. The ship should be retreating. It was dying. But instead it accelerated. These humans were insane. All of them. They were willing to die just to kill him. Then Captain Hana Yoon's battle group emerged from the radiation storm on the Dominion's flank. Her ships were barely functional, held together by emergency repairs. But her weapons still worked. She fired everything at the Dominion's exposed side. The massive ship's shields collapsed. Admiral Park did not hesitate. The Vengeance, shields gone and hull breached, closed to point-blank range with the Valkyrie flagship. Park looked at his crew. Most were wounded. The ship was dying. They all knew what was coming. None of them looked afraid. They looked satisfied. Fire, Park said quietly. The Vengeance fired its main weapons directly into the Dominion's reactor core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Valkyrie flagship exploded from the inside out. The explosion was so massive it lit up the entire nexus point. War Master Krelnix and 5,000 Valkyrie died instantly. The shockwave threw the Vengeance away, spinning out of control. The ship was barely holding together. Admiral Park was wounded, burns covering half his body. But he was alive. And the enemy flagship was destroyed. With their commander dead and their flagship gone, the Valkyrie fleet broke. The carefully organized armada became a mob of panicking ships trying to escape. Some tried to surrender. The human fleet ignored their surrender signals. Admiral Park's orders were absolute. No prisoners. No mercy, the battle became a hunt. Human ships pursued the fleeing Velkari vessels, destroying them one by one. Lieutenant Minho Choi's squadron was relentless, chasing down every ship that tried to escape. They gave no quarter. They showed no mercy. They were avenging 12 million dead. When the Battle of Nexus Point finally ended, 673 Velkari ships had been destroyed. Of the 800 that started the battle, only 127 survived to escape to faster-than-light speed. The greatest armada in Velkari history was shattered. Humanity lost 287 ships. 90,000 people died. But unlike the Velkari, humanity could replace those losses. Shipyards across human space were building new vessels every day. The Velkari had lost their best ships, their best crews, their best commander. They could not recover from this. Admiral Park stood on the damaged bridge of the Vengeance watching the tactical display. The Velkari were running. He had won, but the victory felt hollow. 90,000 of his people had died today. How many more would die before this war ended? Captain Hanayun's voice came through the communication system. Her ship was barely functional, drifting among the debris. Admiral, the Retribution is requesting permission to return to base for repairs. Park looked at the image of her ship on his screen. It was a miracle the vessel was still in one piece. Permission granted, Captain. You did well today. Return home. We will need you for what comes next. Hana nodded, her face expressionless. She did not feel victorious. She felt empty. Killing Velkari had not brought her brother back. It had not saved her nephew's parents. Revenge was supposed to feel satisfying. Instead, it felt like nothing at all. Ambassador Zixtara had watched the battle from a neutral observation station. She had recorded everything for the Galactic Council. Now she composed her report, her hands shaking. She had witnessed something that terrified her. Humanity had not just won the battle. They had demonstrated weapons and tactics that changed warfare forever. They had used stars as guns. They had deployed time-shifted weapons. They had released self-replicating drones that turned the battlefield into an automated slaughter.